Hello and welcome to this episode of the Excalibur podcast, hosted by me, Kyle Brooks. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he speaks about specialized knowledge and how critical it is to making you a success and giving you everything or gaining you anything and everything that you want in life. See, to me, real freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. And that is what wealth really is. The richness that Napoleon Hill speaks about. And to get to that level in your life, you need to be able to acquire a certain amount of knowledge that is specific to an industry that stands out from the rest of the people in the world. And what I have found is that it's not very difficult to do that. It takes a little bit of dedication, and it's very simple if you follow a framework or steps to get there. See, first, you get paid for what you do. Then you get paid for what you know. Then finally, you get paid for who you are. And by acquiring specialized knowledge, this permits you to truly write your own paychecks. Education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And by acquiring this specialized knowledge that Napoleon Hill speaks about in his book, you will gain an understanding and cement yourself in any single company that you work for or any field that you operate in. My journey to do this started when I was an assistant programmer in South Africa. One of the things that really differentiated me is my thirst and curiosity to understand how things worked and then to make them better, consistently improving them. And from that perspective, what I learned and what I acquired was that if you take a step back and first look at what it is that you are doing, the current role that you are in and that you're working in, what the next step is up in that role. And then on top of that, if you look at what your company is, what your company's problem that it's solving and the industry that it operates in. If you dedicate 1 hour a day to understanding and researching these topics, within the course of a single year, you will have essentially a degree in the industry that you are in. And by 3 to 5 years, you will be the subject matter expert that gets to write his own checks. And I can tell you that this has worked for me because I started, like I said, in that particular industry and worked my way up from assistant programmer to programmer and then to technical manager. And then finally I was in the engineering manager, which assisted this company in being purchased by one of our biggest customers. But in that standpoint and from that viewpoint, I was able to establish myself as a subject matter expert in the bag-in-box world and the bag-in-box machinery world, understanding how the machine operates, what web tension should be, what sort of bag or how to create a bag. And from that perspective, it has allowed me to be consulted from different companies all around the world. So if it has worked for somebody that doesn't even have a grade 10, rather dropped out of school in grade 10, what could it do for you? Somebody that has a degree, somebody that has a master's, somebody that has a doctorate. See, the problem is that most people, when they leave school or college, they stop learning. From my perspective, I realized that I needed to be a lifelong learner. And by allowing myself to be hungry for knowledge and humble to knowledge, because just because somebody else has got a slightly different opinion than you does not mean that they are incorrect. This gives you an opportunity to learn where your gaps in your knowledge are, or that you are 100% correct in your thinking. So by being humble to knowledge in all areas of your life, you gain an understanding and a sense of childlike wonder to everything that is around you. And by doing that, it gives you the capability to learn every single day. But I digress. Moving back to the topic of specialized knowledge, the format that I used to be able to start gaining this knowledge was using, obviously, Google to understand where I'm from, what industry that I operated in, and who started the industry. For me, the bag-in-box industry was started by Mr. Sholey. And the rationale, the reason that he used this was during the World War, he created bags made of plastic to be able to carry or to transport liquids around. What this allowed was for containers and for vast amounts of materials to be able to be transported without having to be containerized in rigid packaging, which allowed for smaller spaces. So when they were looking to fly things around the world or to get them from point A to point B, it was a lot more malleable, but it still had the integrity or strength and integrity to be able to withhold or hold everything that was inside the actual package. So that's where the industry started. And then it evolved from there to be able to input food into these things. Right now, one of the biggest uses for the bag-in-box industry is wines, it is eggs, it is syrups. One of the biggest customers or one of the biggest plants is actually in Virginia. It is Sholey IPN or SIG now. They bought Sholey as well as IPN, and it is situated in Chilhowie. We were there this weekend and I was able to spend some time with the employees to gain an understanding of what their thought process was behind where they are and where they would like to be in the next couple of years. And the funny thing is that I thought eventually this field would become saturated and people would find different ways to package material because there's a lot of plastics utilized in this. But it's actually evolved to the degree of where they're using recycle-ready material or materials that are fully recyclable. And by doing this, they're prolonging their ability to utilize their type of packaging. So again, what industry is it that you operate in? What is the annual dollar value of that industry? Do you know what it's going to be in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years? Once you understand that, you can look at the bigger picture and start to identify where you can find a niche that will separate your thinking from everybody else's thinking in that field. It's not the people that do work the best that are going to be most profitable, but the people that solve the biggest problems. So by doing the research and identifying what the biggest problem is for that industry or what the biggest problem is going to be, you put yourself in a position to be able to fill a gap where it is going to require a substantial amount of thought process or pre-thinking to solve this problem. And by solving that problem, you now put yourself in a position to be a subject matter expert. Therefore, not only can you solve the problem of those industries, but you could also start your own trend and your own off branch of that. Starting your own company if you don't really have a company, and moving from that position into a business owner position and then leveraging that to sell it via 2 to 3 times EBITDA. Now you've got capital to start another business and another business and another business. This is the same process or the same thinking that Ryan Reynolds employed to be able to gain his $1.4 billion payday. He bought a media company and then he identified other businesses that were not doing as well, or other brands that were not doing as well as they could be. He leveraged his star power and his media company to create a marketing strategy around that, and then grew that brand with funny adverts that captured attention and leveraged that to grow that brand to a degree where he was able to sell it at EBITDA times 5 or 6. Sold that company, bought another company. And you can see he's doing this with Avion Gin, with Mint Mobile, with a whole host of other companies. But on top of that, the marketing company that he had employed or bought originally is still making all the adverts. So he's getting paid not only through the company's profits and owning those companies and then by selling them, but from making all of the marketing and the strategies that is employed from that perspective. So if you think outside of the box, you research the industry that you're in, you research the current position that you're in, and you research what the gaps are, solve the biggest problem, and you'll be able to write your own paychecks at the end of the day. And that is my episode on specialized knowledge for today. I hope that you guys have a fantastic day. You know where to find us. You can find us on Excalibur Coaching on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as Apple Music and Spotify. Have a fantastic day, guys.